Hello and welcome to part 2 of our introduction to Profida. This is now a hands-on session, so we'll jump right in. We'll cover. You'll learn how Profida is actually structured. It is a modern browser HTML5 based application running in the cloud, so therefore you can access it from anywhere. And after you log into Profida, you basically arrive at the dashboard. The dashboard gives you your most recently accessed individual clients and as well as your most recent accessed commercial clients, organization, and your most pressing activities, workflow items, basically emails, phone calls, and so on, which basically require attention. There can also be some stats displayed, so that's an optional additional features where various of those options are available, but that's a customization. It's not out of the box at this stage. Right, so we also see further down our most recently accessed policies and claims. So if we do claims administration, then as a user, so Profida has user-specific customizations, which means it does not look the same for every user. It depends what, as a user, you're actually doing, what your tasks are, and depending on your task, you see then different menus and different areas in Profida. Besides your user profile, which asks you a few questions, what type of work you do every day, and then Profida adjusts itself according to those answers. Then besides that, there's also the permission management, which which then basically denies access to certain features or provides access to certain things. So for example, if you don't deal with the accounting part of Profida, then that accounting tab will not be visible. If you dive into tools, there might be more submenus and less submenus depending on what you do. If you're not interested in reminders and getting these kind of symbols here where there can be birthday reminders, there can be reminders that certain workflows now need your attention. If you switch that off, then naturally that won't be there. So depending on how you work, Profida has also email triggers where instead of having these notifications in Profida, it can send an email out and then you get that in your email box with a link to the relevant item. You click the link in the email and it takes you straight to the area which requires your attention. That's especially useful for authorizing, for example, certain things like bank accounts, claims, collection runs and payment instructions and so on. The design is that you have various links. So always, if you can jump deeper into certain areas, and you have these blue links, and these blue links take you deeper a level, and you basically zoom in to the various records. So there in Profida we link everything, and that way you only need to capture something once ever, and then it's just linked from there on. And if it's changed centrally at the origin, then basically everything is refreshed automatically. There's also prevention for duplicates. If you try to capture a duplicate person, for example, organization, then or policy, doesn't matter, or claim, then Profida picks that up, gives you a warning, and then you can rather go to the actual record instead of creating a duplicate. Yeah, so here we can also, depending if you need a bigger view, if you have maybe a very large monitor or your monitor is too far away, you can press also zooming up, Control plus and minus to, for example, zoom deeper into the application and make things very large so that you can then spot things easier that way. And then pressing Control 0 basically goes back to 100%. So let me zoom into John Blocks. This is now zoomed up quite a lot. Let me press Control 0 and then we're back. Maybe Control plus once to have a little bit a zoomed in view. So here we see John blocks, that's a person records detail, what we zoomed in, but we can also from the dashboard search by all kinds of criteria. So that's our quick search drop down where we can search by ID number or shortcut client number, bank account details, emails, phone, and so on. And if we blocks John, and then we basically jump right into the relevant record. Right. So from here, yeah, maybe point back to different users. I actually also logged in with a different user here, and that is Regina, which we have here. So we have then on it's both the same record but slightly different view. So for example, Regina also deals with investments. Her menus are there slightly different. She doesn't deal with health information, so therefore she doesn't see this health related information, although it's there, but it can be hidden. That can also be an interesting feature for Puppy, because there not everybody is allowed to see everything, and therefore it's a good thing that certain things can be hidden depending on your settings, your permission, and so on. So yeah, also if you look at her menu here is a bit larger. So she has let's see, what does she actually have, what we don't have. She has, for example, income and expenses, which we don't have, a financial situation. She has asset and liability, which is we have bank accounts and credit cards. So depending on what basically is going on, the menus are just adjusting themselves so that you have the best possible experience with your Profida. So while scrolling down a bit, we see some additional information. So we have a design where you have an unlimited amount of communication details, email addresses, links. Links can also be social links like LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and so on. Addresses, the same thing. So here, for example, we've got an expired address. We can keep this. We could delete it. Everything in Profida is date and time stamped into an event log, which permanently allows us to go back and see what was actually done at which point in time. The various identification documents for the client, depending on your line of business, you might require more or less of those. And the class of business, if that's something relevant to you, because you maybe have not only short-term or only medical, but maybe a bigger variety of business, or maybe you have partners and share your Profida access with the partners. In that case, it can be handy to basically have this class of business set. So this can be set manually by editing the client record and basically ticking the various checkboxes. But Profida has also an early detection mode where it can detect the various policies and then tick these checkboxes automatically for you. That's then quite nice from a data mining point of view to have this class of business, because you can then ask Profida, give me all my clients who have life insurance but no medical insurance with me, or who have short-term insurance but nothing on a life or long-term side. So those can be referred to a partner company, and then we can actually make some additional commission, and we can also ring fence the client because we know who is actually looking after the client and we have then a common interest. Yeah, so then besides so that's basically the core person record. We have then here activities. Activities are the heart of the workflow. They come in different types like emails, phone calls, admin tasks, meetings, and so on. Always the activities from the last 12 months are displayed by default, and the older ones are then conveniently hidden away down here with this red bar, which you can basically activate and then basically see them all. There's various view modes. You can also zoom into all those, but we have dedicated training sessions for all these features, which then show you exactly how to use this. So the purpose of this exercise of the session is to give you a high-level overview, what's all there. So this is also the diary system. You can basically send an email from Outlook into Profida, and then you have basically the details of that email on here. Then this one, for example, is a client who sent us a message from the client login facility into Profida, and then we can actually take care of that, and that way help out and create additional services or improve our services. Yeah, so here we have attachments. That's, for example, is activated for auto preview, and there are also some older ones. Attachments are all kinds of documents, electronic documents related to the person. So attachments are also on the organization for your commercial clients, your employers, your vendors, as well as on policies, items, and claims. So one would always attach them at a document, obviously where it's most closely related. Your family relations basically map the whole family, and so that we can conveniently also jump to the family, and also for marketing and data mining purposes. That's obviously very helpful. Group membership allows you to group and structure your clients, categorize your clients. Related parties can be referrers, or in trusts. We have also related parties menu, which you have then beneficiaries and the trustees, and you can also find out by going to a trustee which other trusts that trustee is actually a member of, and so on. So there's various areas. Everything is basically linked, and Profida utilizes and gives you the insight into all these links. Yeah, here we have policies, and Profida is a multi policy and investment system, which means that you have one client record, and then all the policies of that client, active, inactive, cancelled, and whatever, is all underneath that client. So we want to let's just briefly go back to the slide and see that we don't actually jump too far ahead of the session, because we want to separate the actual policy administration and the general introduction. So this one is more the workflow related introduction. So we covered so far. We see that Profida runs in a modern interface, and we saw the dashboard. We saw multiple tabs and views. Not really, actually, I must say. So let's quickly have a look more in detail. So for example, if I want to now have this this email here visible in a different window, I can just hold down the control key, click that, and then it opens this in a separate. If I have multiple screens, I can just drag this around and drag it, for example, on a second screen, continue working in a one. Or for example, if I'm busy now with John doing some work, creating a new email here on John, so then it also automatically inserts obviously my signature and so on, like you're used to from so this one will then resolve on sending, and then that we have then a bit more powerful features here than you have in Outlook, besides coloring and scheduling and putting duration and how much work it took actually to create this email. You can also basically create drafts for the future, and allocate these also to different people first for review before sending out, and so on. So this one, we're busy maybe here with this one, and now we want to go on a different client contacts us, or different somebody differently ask us, and we need to attend to for example, another person, and then Candice, for example, needs some attention, and then we can just open this in a new window, or we can leave it in a new tab, depending on your preferences, and then we can actually work here on Candice and, for example, attach a newly scanned document which now arrived, or she needs a new policy, or has an inquiry there. Then once we sorted this, we made our notes, for example, on activities, what was done, then we go back and continue working on our join blocks. Without that, our workflow was actually interrupted. Yeah, so back to our checklist here. So we have multiple tabs and windows, and we can work efficiently and easy with our administration. We have also various manual, semi-automated, and fully automated workflow options where things automatically can be sent out and created. Let me actually quickly demonstrate this a bit. So the go back, let's cancel this. Let's create a new person quickly. So we'll create a lead. So let's create Claire, and as you might, some of the names that can be set up, they are automatically gender recognized, as you can see here. But if you have an ID number, which you for a lead would usually not have, but if you have, then gender is also extracted from, and the birthday obviously naturally as well, from the ID number. And okay, so let's say we have from that lead, we've got a birth date, which is actually nice. So okay, and then let's just and let's go down and capture actually some communication detail. And so let's say we've got a cell phone. Okay, right. So let's just leave it like that, and you can capture the entire family, or you can just capture one person. That's maybe, yeah, let's just go back there for a moment. So if I scroll down here, you can see I can also capture the spouse details here, and the children, and so on, the whole family basically in one go. Then various other details. So what you see here, also the fields and the tooltips on the fields, and which fields are mandatory, that is all part of the setup, so they can all be changed. And this one is sort of more your long-term insurance and medical insurance kind of setup. For the short-term side, let's just quickly see how Regina's setup is. Yeah, you see hers, for example, she has a different kind of setup. She's more the kind of short-term insurance setup where we're not so much interested in families, or if you do long-term but not family-related long-term insurance, maybe credit life and these kind of things, then this kind of setup might actually work better. And just keep in mind that whatever fields you have here, these can actually, not these ones, those can actually be taken off. Obviously there are certain mandatory fields like write the names, the initials, the birth date, and the ID number. So those we always need. But then, do we want the birthday reminder or not? You know, are we working with passports? Are we working with FICA risk and so on? So those are optional fields. They can just be taken off. Right. So back to here. So now. Right, so let me close this. So here, back on Claire, so what I want to do now is, let's say we progress, we have maybe some activities which we created, we contacted her, which actually would be there, but I think I haven't set this up. And now if I say, okay, so she becomes, now she says, yes, I want to go ahead, let's sign up for a policy. So now she becomes actually a client. And so now this for example triggers now an example workflow which in this demo database which I had set up. So what now basically will be created, there will be now a follow-up workflow which then appears on the inbox and for example on the dashboard, and can't remember now. Yeah, here it is already. You can see here basically that arrived, and I now see this. This could also have been created not for me who created cloud, but for somebody else, or it could be created for Q, where it goes into a new business department and various staff members they pop it off the queue, and then it becomes basically they take ownership of that record. So here we see then what our next steps need to be done, and that has also basically action email send welcome pack. So I can click there, and that creates then already the welcome pack, or in this case it basically takes me to the place where I can then actually send the welcome pack. And and it usually opens in a different tab, so then I can close the tab, and then I'm back basically where I am with my workflow. There are also, this setup was also done in such a way that it creates two empty attachments which now basically become due, and in this case we set it up that they become due straight away, but they could also become delayed due, and then I would click the add file button here once I receive this, and then basically attach that relevant document to Profida, which then basically uploads this into so I'm not going to do that now, and which then uploads this into Profida for permanent storage. And yeah, then we have follow-up lists, and which basically, if that does not arrive in time, we can also use this to contact the client, and then here our shortcut in time, and then basically we can also put a note on phoned client and get promised to let's just correct this, promised to and got promised to have this by tomorrow. Okay, so that's my note, and then I say okay, so my due date for this now is not tomorrow, because tomorrow I expect it, but then on the 25th, where I say okay, by that time it's overdue, so I need to follow up then again. So these kind of, so that's actually quite nice and handy. We have a lot of these little workflow helpers that you exactly know where things happening, and then you can just forget about it. It will pop up then as and when these kind of things become due. Right, so this was just a small tiny little example about some automated some kind of automation. We have also much larger and complex workflows, also fully automated things where complete welcome packs are sent in the background, or reports are auto-uploaded to other sites, and so on. Yeah, we had also a brief look at the document management. Activities can become email, SMSs, Outlook integrations, meetings, reminders, internal workflows where one staff basically sends something to another staff and then they get it back. And because everything is integrated in Profida, you have always the link, you see always to which object and which policy, claim, person does this actually relate to. You don't need to think about or first search for the person, you're already there. Or if you're not there, then you just click the link and then you're there, and then you see all the details. For example, if you need to make a phone call to somebody, and you create a new a new activity which is a phone call, then there, yeah, we haven't let's see here, and right, just cancel those. I thought I captured the phone, or maybe I didn't. No, I think we did. Right, so let's just go back to the dashboard. Get to blogs Jan. I think he has quite a bunch of phone numbers, and phone. Oh, okay, seems I have not activated this. Yeah, there's an option there. You can actually get then here all the phone numbers nicely displayed and visible about John and Claire. Yeah, so seems I have not activated that. Right. Okay. Good. Yeah. So that's yeah, there's quite a bunch of settings. So the way you want it, there's quite a bit of customization available. Yet, and there's always guides. We have lots of these kind of videos available which show you exactly, if you want to achieve this is how you do it. And you can watch this over and over if you want to, which is then obviously nice to really get a deep understanding of that. As already mentioned before, or right in the beginning, we have audit trails about everything, and we call this the event log, where you can just go and you see all the differences and all the changes. These are permanently there. These are also auditable, and they can also be used for all kinds of things. Like, for example, one can find out what did actually a certain staff do within a certain period of time, that's from an HR point of view also probably an interesting part. Yeah. So permissions is also very important. All kinds of permissions, from read-only permissions to certain areas permissions, also authorization limits, and all kinds of things are all available and ready for you to use in your Profida. Great, so thank you for watching and being interested in the introduction session. So this was to set the scene. Now the next session will be the policy administration. Hopefully I'll see you there. Thank you for watching.